So today I have the pleasure and honor to welcome someone very special, a representative, founder and managing director of one of our cornerstone investors of Acture, Franz Zo from VERBUND X Ventures. Welcome.
Thanks for the invitation, Christian. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. So why is it special? Yes, because the cornerstone investor is special for us, someone who chose to go the journey with us together. And also to commit to this journey is something that is unique and takes a lot of trust. But I would like to give the audience a little bit the opportunity to get to learn about VERBUND X Ventures, but also about you, Franz. So I'm very happy to start giving you the stage, talking a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Christian. It's really great to be here and talk about the future of energy. And of course, we're a cornerstone investor of Acture, but Acture is also the first investment of VERBUND Ventures. So it's also really special for me to be here today. I'm managing director of VERBUND X. That's the innovation and venture unit of VERBUND. I'm with VERBUND since 20 years and always working like an entrepreneur in residence. So I always built the department I worked for. So starting from renewable energy to public affairs to innovation and ventures. Why VERBUND Ventures? It's not only building a fund, it's more building a bridge between an established energy company and the startup world. Bridging this gap, bringing technologies into the market, accelerating the energy transition. That's our aim at VERBUND Ventures, and that's why I'm here today and why we're proud investors of Acture.
Wonderful. Thank you for providing the insight. If I may dig a little bit into your very personal journey, right? Obviously started in VERBUND as such. Can you talk a little bit about how the path developed towards then taking the decision to found VERBUND Ventures?
Yes, of course. It brings me back maybe to 2018 when I studied in Stanford, and there was really a lot of focus of venture-backed companies and how they accelerate and bring growth and value to the economy. And one later, I had the privilege to assess VERBUND innovation and new business, and we found the VERBUND X department. And we had in mind also build a venture instrument here back in 2019, but it took us 3 years until 2022 to establish VERBUND Ventures. And we started as an MVP, having 18 months time soon to prove the concept, soon doing the first investment in Acture. And then we got the mandate of the VERBUND board for portfolio building.
Yes.
So starting from 2024 to end of 2026, we have now the mandates to build a first portfolio of 15 investments across Europe, seed and Series A companies, to back them and to help them accelerating. And now, this way, we have already 12 start investment, 2 fund investment, 1 joint venture. I mean, now we have a portfolio, and we see it also it works now different like before. There's only 2 or 3 companies, so it's nice investments. And now we really see that we can combine founders to founders and we to make an ecosystem out of it.
I think the ecosystem idea I hear a lot when dealing with VERBUND X Ventures, and to get kind of network effects also happening within the portfolio companies, right? What's next on the horizon? So we've seen obviously you've built step by step towards having that portfolio in place. What do you have in mind? What could be the next step?
It's all about impact, how we can increase our impact and really to make a difference. We have huge challenges as a society. Just remind us on the gas crisis, now the homeless crisis, the war in Iran. And if you look at Austria, about 10 billion a year we spend for energy imports. So that's a lot of money. So the question is on how we can improve the energy systems for the society. And we can't do it alone. And that's really my conviction, so that we need alliances, new alliances to bring that. because we have the technologies to decarbonize the future of energy, but we have to scale them. And it's not only one technology to scale. We have to build technologies. We have to build the system. We need the framework from the political side. So we really have to form the right alliances to get it done.
Yes, I hear you. So on the one hand side, I hear energy autonomy and let's say safety as one side to it, right? As well as sustainability on the other hand in terms of decarbonization. Are those two key drivers to your activities?
If you look at the reasons why people do energy innovation, there's a recent survey of the International Energy Agency in Paris. And the most important reason why nowadays energy innovation is done is because of energy security, of resilience, and not of climate change. I think we have to do energy innovation because of climate change. It's our license to live on the planet here. We have no planet B. So that's one driver. But nowadays, energy resilience, sovereignty, I think that's the more important drivers. Just another language of the same challenge.
Yeah, and I think the two dimensions to a change that's happening right now, right? I mean, and to create resilience, you can create energy resilience one way, which is maybe very fossil based, and you can create energy resilience that is in a very decarbonized matter. I think those two dimensions can be aligned, but don't have to be aligned necessarily. There are other countries in this world which who have the different interests on how to tackle this as well.
But if you do energy resilience based on fossil fuels, you can't address climate change. Exactly. So it's really a matter of fact that we have to do to reach energy resilience and security based on renewables, based on electricity. Otherwise, we really have a problem with CO2 emissions with our climate. Yes. In Vienna, we have 40 degrees since more than a week. So it's really, we feel it. We have to do something against climate change. And if you look back in the last the last decades, we had really massive increase in investments in renewables. So it was really the decades of renewable energy, of massive investments in PV, massive investments in solar PV and in wind.
Yes.
And nowadays, I think it's a shift. There will be still massive investment in these technologies, but we have to take a more system approach. I think we're entering the age of electricity, and so we need not only renewable generation, we need also storage, we need grid connections, we need the management of all these decentralized energy resources.
So it's about creating that systemic change, but the change on a system architecture level, and not just on the generation side, right?
Exactly. I think at the generation side, a lot of things are done and a reason have been achieved. And solar PV is now the cheapest form of electricity generation. It's also the electricity production which grows at a scale we have never expected. If you look back 20 years ago, what has been added in 1 year, 20 years ago, and PV capacity is now big in 1 day or even less. And that's a figure on a global scale, but also in Austria. So it's really a massive increase we have seen in the last decades. And now we have to see the same on the system level.
Yes. Thank you for explaining that. So you mentioned politics, you mentioned the International Energy Agency just a couple of minutes ago. What I do recognize you is not just as the driver and founder for X Ventures, but also someone who is connecting, let's say, leading minds in politics, in energy, in science, and put this together to something that goes way beyond, let's say, the commercial aspect of running a VC, right? What drives you and what inspires you to do so?
I think it's my motivation, so that I'd like to do something meaningful, and something with impact. And I think we also not having the time to wait anymore. And we look to China, we look into the Silicon Valley, to California, how they scale, how they innovate. But I think we have all the ingredients here in Europe to do the same. If you look on the triangle of Munich, Zurich, and Vienna, and that's the same size from a distance like in the Silicon Valley, we have the same great universities here, and we have great companies here, but we don't scale the innovation. So that is one of the reasons why we found the energy launchpad, where we now work closely together with ETH Zurich and TU Vienna, TU Munich, in order to bring European energy technologies we to scale and with speed. So it's just a matter of getting the things done. With all the ingredients, just do it in Europe.
I hear. And then connecting the different fields, obviously, you see necessary to accelerate that happening, right? Because in a lot of ways, I see industries to be kind of living in silos, and thinking in silos and acting in silos and stuff like that. So what I perceive, and this is what I meant in the beginning, is one of the rare exceptions where it tries to connect the dots between those silos to create the overall big change at the end of the day.
Because the solution for the energy transition is not a great technology or great ideas by somewhere. It's really a combination of having the right consortium, the right partnerships to bring them alive.
Yeah.
And I think that's needed. And we see it in this Croatia with the energy launch, but just to know each other quite well, like the professors on the TU Wien and TU Munich, ETH Zurich, there are a lot of new ideas coming out of these new connections. And that's, I think, also the secret of all good ecosystem, that he has many new connections and also connections suddenly happen. And that's also brings me back to the foundation of VERBUND X and our innovation approach within VERBUND. We call it the innovation symphony. Innovation shouldn't be only be part of or be happening in the VERBUND innovation department. It should be happening in each department of VERBUND. Every employee should be innovative, because only if we are successful in doing so, really bringing innovation to scale also within the company.
Yes, I hear you. Absolutely. What I found astonishing in this in the energy launchpad that you just mentioned is the fact that it's cross-border. So there are let's say 3 players in 3 different countries working together, right? And those 3 countries one of those countries is not even in the European Union. So it's living in a little bit different system as well, right? So to bring this together cross-border for me is quite astonishing, because a lot of things happen on national level. But I would totally agree with what you said, that the size of the challenge that we're addressing is so huge that we have to also work on the critical mass in terms of on an international scale. Yes.
And it's all about to know the right people. About 20 years ago, I was in one CAMA conference when Austria had the EU presidency. I was at the time at the Austrian Ministry for Environment. And we were in South Africa, about 20-25 people in the room, representatives from the big countries of this world, from the European Union, from Russia, from the United States, from China, Brazil, just 25 people, representing maybe 2/3 or 3/4 of the global total emissions.
Yes.
So it's just people business. About 10 years ago, I was responsible for public affairs within VERBUND, and we had to address some challenges with the hydropower, because we had no excellent dates and facts and figures of hydropower at the European level. There was no hydropower association like solar power or wind power. And so we just we with another company with Statkraft to form a project group. And within a couple of months, we formed an alliance of, I think, 18 or 20 organizations and backed by about 95% of the European hydropower business. And you did some study projects and some policies and papers. So it's all about bringing the right people together, form alliances, and getting things done.
So you're really accelerating basically the activities, bringing people together, right? So that's here as a...
But also with this impact. So really to get these things done, buy new alliances. Many things you cannot do alone. And to be successful, you need some other people, other organizations. And in the first step, you also have to give more in the system and then getting something back.
Exactly. So one of the, let's say, common topics is the use of electricity as the main driver or the main energy within the mobility ecosystem. That's also one of the areas where we as Nectar are active in terms of being able or being responsible for charging large fleets of electric vehicles, doing this in an efficient way, doing it in a way that also the grid profits from how we do it, etc., etc. So there's a lot in. And I think we would agree that mobility is seen as one of the opportunity areas to transform away from fossil towards electric energy over the next years. Time frame to be defined, right? So what I would the question I got for you is specifically in the last 2 years, the bullishness towards electrification of mobility kind of started to stagnate a little bit, right? And a lot of expectations were not necessarily met in the market towards adoption rates of EVs, availability of charging infrastructure. So how do you see that dynamics playing out on a mid and long run? Is this just the micro view where you see, okay, this is just a short period of time where maybe the bullishness is not so strong, or is there a fundamental issue in your point of view or challenge that we still have not solved yet?
To answer that question, I like to zoom out a little bit. If you look back 10 or 20 years and we look at the figures of electric cars on the street, and now, I think there's a main difference. And according to the latest figures of the IAE, and I think also Austria and Europe, about 25% of new cars are electric cars.
Yes.
So there's a big momentum. We passed the tipping point, and soon we have entered the age of e-mobility, and there's no way back. It will be the main technology zone for the car sector, for e-trucks, etc.
That's probably the other question. Is
I just learned a couple of weeks ago the latest figures about e-trucks in China. That's really astonishing. Now also more than 25% of new trucks in China are e-trucks.
Wow. Okay. To nail it.
And that's more than tripled in the last couple of years. From I think 3 years ago or 4 years ago, from 5% now more than 25%.
Yes.
So there's no way back. So that's the preferred technology. That's technologism with the it's more competitive from a cost factor. And of course, sometimes you have a pushback from the old system. But nevertheless, the trend is going in that direction. And I think soon there will be there's no way back. It's good for you to be in that business, also one, and going forward.
Absolutely. I think I can follow everything that you said so far in terms of it's gonna happen. That's for me totally out of question. For us, totally out of question. What is, I think, what can be a challenge for companies trying to place their products in that ecosystem is specifically companies that are venture capital funded. I think is the, let's say, expectation curve towards development of companies that are typically VC funded versus the development curve of markets, right? Well, like we fully agree in terms of, okay, the development is going to happen. It's just, does this support a venture capital based financing approach for a company, or is that a tricky one? How do you see that tension between those two kind of views?
That brings you back to the year 2027. That was my year back in VERBUND when I had the duty to write the new renewable energy strategy for VERBUND, and I was asked to go for a couple of weeks to Silicon Valley to look at what's going on there. Can we have some new insights from that ecosystem? And it was in March 2027. So 19 years ago, when I sat in the first Tesla, and at that occasion, I learned also to know Aaron Price, who was one of the first investors in Tesla. He's now also in the board of Star X. And I see it's a long game you're playing in venture capital. And if you have the right people sitting in the startup, the founders they maybe pilot 1 or 2 times, but at the end it pays off. But you don't know at the beginning.
You don't necessarily know, right? And it's the short-term plans of those companies sometimes materialize, sometimes they don't, right? So you see venture capital as a long play. Okay, yeah, that's interesting to hear, and very supporting, obviously, also the quality and nature of VERBUND X just being a CVC, right? Having the opportunity to also consider that long-term view when investing. One aspect I briefly discussed with you is, and I guess it's touched on every single podcast, so I won't make an exception here. I was recently at a jury with for a startup pitch contest, and the title was AI for Energy. So I experienced a lot of companies who would have a specific AI-based solution that is sitting somewhere in the ecosystem solving some sort of problem, right? And it kind of always been like that. This is not necessarily new. What I found astonishing now that if you put all those together, the magnitude of the change that is started and even seems possible now through the means of AI is something that can be quite mind-blowing. Yeah, and this is not just the energy ecosystem. There are a lot of ecosystems, right? But how you see the impact of AI towards this market in general, and specifically towards venture and startups being active in such an ecosystem.
Maybe starting with the last part of your question, we see competitions for venture capital from energy startups and AI startups. Now, there's a big shift so that AI startups get more funding the last couple of months and years. So it's really a competition.
Yes.
I think AI would change or could change everything in the system. It's really a big transformation. Some people say it's maybe 10 times faster than the industrial revolution. So we get big change. And a big change is in the whole field of energy innovation. IA is saying that maybe the most important impact of AI to energy is the acceleration of energy innovation. That you may be 1,000 times faster in material discovery for new batteries and so on and so on. Of course, there's a big demand for electricity by new data centers. So we have a double charge. So we are providing enough power supply for a data center and AI, and to use really AI to make the energy system more efficient, more effective. So I think we don't only have to talk about how we can use AI for the energy system. We really have to think about also how we can build the AI infrastructure for Europe that we have their own data center, the sovereignty on AI in our country, in our internet.
And then again, electricity plays a huge role, right? I remember, first of all, I've been talking to someone from a company that is, I think it is GE so GE. They also provide gas turbine power plants, a small to medium scale, and they are sold out for the next 10 years. Right? 3 years ago, they had worries whether they're going to keep up the business, and now they're fully booked for the next 10 years because the demand from the data center side is so extremely huge, right? And specifically from the US, it seems. And then I remember that Microsoft has been acquiring an old nuclear plant to basically ramp it up again, to support production. So is Europe ready for is Europe ready to support the very fast paced need for energy on on a local scale, at the same time being spread across 28 nations and legislations and energy systems, etc. So what's your take on that?
In my opinion, it's not a question of are we ready or not. We have to be ready, because otherwise we lose competitive edges for the future. We have a main lag between the speed of AI, the speed of building new AI infrastructure, building new data centers, and the speed or the time it's needed for new grid infrastructure, for new power plants. If we speak about new grid infrastructure, new big power plants, we speak about decades. And if we speak about some new data centers, new AI infrastructure, the hyperscale liability within months in a year.
Yes.
And we have to bridge this gap in order to get it done in Europe. And I think that's one of the big questions on our politicians have to answer quite soon.
So, as you said, right, from a timing perspective, investments in grids are super long term. Like the next data center might be up and running in 6 months. So, is the answer to plan to just build a plant just next to it to just enable it to run? Or
I think that's the answer of many of the hyperscalers. We will become also an energy provider and utility in order to feed the energies and for the data set they needed.
Perfect. Well, thanks. This I find quite exciting actually, and one of the areas that is going to be very, very difficult to predict, except that it's going to grow, right? But how exactly, what that scenery is going to look like in 10 years is going to be exciting. Talking about 10 years, are you ready to play a little game? Of course, with it. Good. So imagine the following: we have a time capsule, the two of us, we're a time machine, and I transport the two of us into the year 2036, so exactly 10 years from now. And then from the year 2036, we're taking a look at the two of us sitting now, so 10 years ago. What advice would you give us sitting here from the year 2036?
My advice would be, we shouldn't underestimate what is happening nowadays. Maybe it's not seen in 6 or 12 months time for him, but if you look back from 10 years to now, it will be really a great shift how we work, how we live, and how we also make business in the future and how business guys are working out. So I think it's really important that would be advice to both of us. Now we zoom to see the big picture, and I'm working backwards to the future, see the big shift, and make big bets, and maybe we not be patient, so really push forward and make new alliances. Because alone we would be too small. In Austria, we would be too small for our companies. Even big corporations, only the size of VERBUND, have to cooperate, have to form new alliances with other big players and with startups to speed up, to really take advantage of the opportunities we have in Europe. That's a good advice. Build new alliances now and speed up.
Speed up. Yes. I like the collaborative aspect of that, in terms of we can only manage it together, right, and achieve it together. That resonates extremely well with me. And thank you very much for sharing that very personal view, Franz. Appreciate it. I also appreciate you taking the time and going into this next conversation here together with me this afternoon. We're at the end of a heat wave. We expect it to tip over to being colder just in a few hours from now. I hope that for the audience, this was also something that they can pick some information out, and that creates some relevance. But for now, thank you very much for joining us today, and excited to do this journey together. I hope that in 10 years from now, as you said, we will be able to say that we did the big bets and we did not stop.
Thanks a lot, Christian.